Well, hello, Reinvent. We're so glad to be here representing the south of Latin America and specifically Chile. Today with me, my name is Felipe Chirinos and I'm a Solutions Architect Manager at AWS Chile. Today with me is Mauricio Ramos, which is the head of Strategic Governance and Services Transformation in LATAM Airlines, and also Rosmar Torres, which is the solutions architect from AWS team that went through LATAM Airlines project that we are going to explain today. So pretty excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're going to talk about a topic that I think that you might have heard of, and it's generative AI. So personally, I use it a lot on my personal task with my children's. Actually, it helped me with their homework. So for me, it's unbelievable, and it's those kind of technologies that you think that even there's a kind of magical thing happening there. But the reality is that when you try to implement that kind of technology in your companies or the businesses, you have absolutely some challenges that you have to tackle. It's different. You have to be prepared to analyze your data in a secure way and in an effective way, and to actually understand what are the implications of implementing this kind of technology. So we're going to guide you through what LATAM Airlines did for their journey, and specifically where they are now, where they're going to be, and basically how we tackle those challenges as a team, AWS and LATAM Airlines. So let's start with an example. So this is a fictional character. It's called Emily. And meet Emily. She is a new CIO from a company called Any Company. And basically, she knew that this kind of technology could make an impact on their businesses. And they want to show to their stakeholders on the company that this kind of technology could help them to improve their businesses and to get value out of it. So she then set up a demo day with the executives, the line of businesses executives, and demonstrate some Gen AI capabilities. So she started to summarize some reports, translating complex concepts or technical concepts into a more neutral language. And actually, they were actually getting the data out of their systems to basically do some insight or specific KPIs or metrics for their businesses. So the executives then saw, oh, wow, this is amazing. We have to do something now with this technology. What do we have to do to start? And then questions arise. They thought, okay, where should we begin? What specific problem do we want to solve with this kind of technology? So then some questions arrived, and it was not that simple to answer those questions. Actually, the most complicated one was, okay, what problem do we want to solve? Because this is not about a new toy or a new technology that's going to solve everything. We have to know that this technology has some limitations, and we want to understand what specific problems can we solve. So I'm going to give you some statistics that I found on a recent study done by run.org. And basically, only 14% of the companies felt ready to adopt AI solutions. So that's quite low. Even if you put on place the other figure that we have is that 85% of the business leaders believe that this kind of technology will change their business. So how do we? It's like standing on a swimming pool, and you see the refreshing water, but you don't want to dive in. It's because we don't know if we have all the skills, all the data that we need. So actually, another important statistic is that more than 80% of the AI projects fail. That's twice as much as the traditional IT projects. So why do we fail? What is the thing that we are not doing right to implement this technology into our businesses? Well, the fact is that this is not a technical issue at all. Okay? It's not a technology challenge. It's about cultural, leadership, and process-oriented challenges. We have to change our mindset on how we implement these technologies, and we have to embrace experimentation. You have to try, and you have to try, and you have to try again, and learn from it, and apply it to the projects and the processes that your company has. It's also a leadership issue or challenge, because you have to understand that if these projects could be a long-term project, not just a short-term. You have to be ready to don't get the results in short-term. Maybe it could take longer, but you have to embrace that in the leadership style. And also process-oriented, because these projects requires a lot of knowledge from different areas. So you will have data scientists, data engineers, but also you will have line of business, domain experts. So you should have teams that work as one team and avoid the silos between these teams. Normally, they work in different teams, and we have to begin to think as a one-team approach. Okay, but I have the idea. I have a working prototype that looks promising, but I have to move to production. How do we move that to production? And then are some challenges that we're going to have at that phase. So what about if our solution gives the end customer information that is incorrect, or basically as we put at risk our reputation as a brand or our customer trust? What about the security? Do we have the data, the restrictions, or all the things that we need to be sure that the data is not going to be over the internet for public uses? So do we have the skills, the technical skills to implement this? Technical skills is not the technical skills that we need are not the same that the ones that we did on the prototype phase. On production, when you were building the prototype, maybe you will have like 10 users, a couple of users. But what about thousands or even millions of users interacting with this technology? So these are different skills that you need to get on the team to make this successful. But actually, how do we measure that we are impacting the business in the right way? And what is the definition of success? How do we know that what we did, it's what we expected? What the outcome is what was right about what we wanted to do. So these are things that we have to tackle, but mainly we have to think. This is the thing that we learned together with LATAM Airlines, is that we have to try. Okay, this is the shareholder letter from 2015 from Jeff Bezos to the stakeholders, and basically said failure and invention are inseparable twins. And these are the kind of projects that this is absolutely our mantra. We have to fail, we have to try, but we have to fail cheap, we have to fail fast, and we have to fail forward. So we must embrace that kind of concepts in all the cycles during the project. And when we're talking about failure, it's not failure that could sink a company. We're talking about control failure over some specific parts of the project, and we use that to learn, absolutely, to learn and to incorporate that on our project and to our final solution. So, who can explain us better than the customer itself? Mauricio, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. You can allow me the clicker. First of all, I just want to thank Rosmar and Felipe for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. And allow me just 1 second to speak with hyperbole about LATAM, because it's not always that we hear great things about South America. And I want to talk about the company. We are the largest carrier in South America. And not only in South America, we are the largest carrier in the Southern Hemisphere. We are aiming to transport 85 million passengers this year. We transport almost 1 million tons of cargo to 150 destinations around the world. And we are 34,000 committed people working to elevate every journey, always. We connect South America to the world. That's our purpose in life. We connect our region to North America, Europe, within South America, to Australia and New Zealand as well. Not only that, but I think that we did a very good alliance with Delta a couple of years ago, and we're also extending our network to North America with 25 non-stop flights to North America, to the US and Canada, 18 daily flights non-stop, and 7 of those with less than daily frequencies. But I'm going to be talking about the journey that we had with AWS and our partners. And I am glad that we're not part of that 80% that failed. We are in that 20% that we are here to tell you a story of success, right? So I think the journey has this timeline that I'm going to explain little by little. But first, we needed to define a use case. You know, what we wanted to do. Having that North Star where we want to go, it is part of sort of the relationship that we developed, because we saw a cultural fit with AWS, and immediately we thought about what is the experience of customer care going to look like in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years. And they helped us with their methodology to build that dream, And then we decided, hey, we need to put that dream into action and develop a proof of concept that we did it in record time. We're going to see that surprise in a little bit. Then we went live. We went live in a specific market. We wanted to fail fast. We wanted to try little to decide whether that was going to work or not. And we had some learnings. This was not a straight answer, was not plug and play. It needed a little bit of work, and that is something that we did collaboratively with our partners and with AWS as well, and with the entire team. I am representing a team of fantastic professionals that have developed this voice bot that we're going to be talking about. And then from there, we decided, okay, we need to escalate this. This is working, so we need to escalate it, and we decided an MVP, and then an entire roadmap that we are sure that we're going to accomplish and help with our partners. And I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to take the liberty to ask you a question, and you can raise your hand if you feel like it. But since I'm in Vegas, I like to bet, right? So I bet $1 million that none of you wake up in the morning saying, I have to call a contact center. This is going to be the best experience ever, right? This is never going to happen, right? So, and we know that. We know that is a fact. In fact, our customers are telling us the same thing. 80% of them already tried to solve the issue online with their travel agency or elsewhere, and they needed help, and that is why they call. And today, 1 in every 6 passengers that we transport needs to get in touch with us. That is the harsh reality. And we needed to do something about it. We needed to reinvent ourselves, change the game. This was an opportunity that we embraced, and when ChatGPT came to surface, it was obvious that we had a good opportunity to explore this, and we did. And we developed this framework that I'm going to be explaining to you briefly. I don't want to bore you with graphs and whatnot. But basically, we had a strategic design where we have self-service, the customer first, always. We made available all the channels that we currently have. And then we put a layer of artificial intelligence, right? And that layer was aiming to contain the demand as well as to provide a good experience for our customers. And then we knew at the moment that not everything was going to be done by AI. We had that clear from the get-go. We said that we needed to transfer that, to hand off that to an agent, but in a way that was transparent, it was simple, and it would help the agent as well to provide better customer service, right? So we use AI for intelligent routing as well, so we would be able to match the intent of that customer to the right agent. And we also design a framework so in the future we can help the agents to provide optimal customer care with copilots, with tools that will do analytics for supervisors and help us with training and constant improvement there. So that was the framework that we defined. But for the POC, we defined we're going to attack the easiest one, right? The voice. And this is just a joke because always it is easier to tackle something that is written, but we decided to go for the difficult one. We went for the voice. Although we come from South America and most of us speak Spanish, we sometimes do not understand each other because we use different words. And we needed to make sure that our AI was going to be able to help with that. And we decided to start with voice in a small market, well, not so small, but in a small piece of our demand, which was Peru, and also with frequently asked questions and routing to the agents. That is what we define the POC to be. And then I'm going to explain what was the use case that we defined. So we defined 4 parameters that we wanted to obtain out of this. Containment. We wanted to contain some of the demand. That was important to us, right? This was, as I explained before, 1 in every 6 passengers needed to call us, and that is a harsh reality. We needed to be more efficient. Also, we wanted to be accurate. We knew at the time that AI had some hallucination problems, and we needed to be aware of that. We needed to, security and safety is at the paramount of our strategic technological transformation, and we needed to make sure that the responses were accurate. But most importantly, we needed to make sure that our customers were perceiving this as a good service, right? So the NPS was also important to obtain. In terms of efficiency and customer experience, the handling time needed to be better. That was our objective. So we defined this use case, and then we started to work. And I'm going to leave you with Rosmar to explain you what we did there.
Okay, well, one of the challenge, thank you. Well, thank you, Mauricio. I'm glad to be here with all of you and to be part of this project now. But at that moment when we started, one of the challenges was the skill and technical gaps. Many of you maybe are facing the same challenge, no? And how, as AWS team, we support our client through this journey. We started using 2 things. The first one is the AWS Solution Library, and the second one is the workshop to enable technical team to use the solution, no? And maybe you are wondering, what is an AWS solution? AWS solution are the orchestration of many services to resolve a specific use case. These are designed by our professional services and validated partners following the well-architected framework. And with those in mind, beside the technical part, the other thing that the solution add to this case was the opportunity to start fast and learn in the process, and to dedicate most of the time to configuring the solution instead of developing. And the solution that we used for this case was the Q&A bot. The Q&A bot, I don't going to explain in depth every service, but I want you to keep in mind that it has two big parts. The first one is the content manager. You have to load the content that will be used to answer the question of the clients who calls, and the other part is the bot itself. This bot interact with Genesys Cloud, that is the contact center platform that LATAM use actually. And for the enablement of the team, we decide to choose the services that are more important in the solution. I will go and explain based on a call. When a customer contact to LATAM contact center, it came the call to Genesys Cloud, no? Through a voice channel. And instead of use the IVR menu that press 1, 2, no. They ask an open question to invite the client to manifest the problem that they want to resolve. And this is route to Amazon Lex. Amazon Lex is our AI service to design and develop conversational interfaces. But the most important task in this case for Amazon Lex is the transcription of the voice to text. That is the most important task that they do, and the integration between the Genesys Cloud world and the AWS world. After this transcription, this Lex calls AWS Lambda function that has the business logic. What is in this business logic? It has two big parts. One is looking on Amazon Open Search service that stores the content in a proper manner to be query to resolve the client needs. And after selecting the correct article, it uses Amazon Bedrock to invoke a large language model or a generative AI model to create an answer. With this solution, we are using a strategy that it calls retrieval augmented generation, and this allowed us to contain the possible hallucination of the models, no? Because you set up the content in which the model have to work. And okay, after that, technical team could start to work, but Mauro can tell us more about it.
So it was pretty easy what I said on the paper. We had 4 indicators that we wanted to move, but we needed to put that to the test, right? So we started, like I said, with Peru, and we started with very few calls, only 3,500 calls on a daily average. We tested with them, and we implemented an FAQ, a simple FAQ where passengers could ask regular questions. What about baggage allowance? Can I carry liquids on board, etc. So that type of questions that usually takes a few minutes to answer, we wanted to be handled by Gen AI, by a voice bot. And we also did changes constantly to allow the AI to provide better answers. And here's what we learned. We learned that we were able to contain in only, I'm gonna give you a little spoiler here, it only took us a month to put this POC, only a month. And we were able to contain 5% of the demand within that first week of release. The accuracy of the responses was 85%. You know, it was actually doing better than some of our agents. So that was impressive. And not only that, but the resolution was a lot faster. Not only the client didn't need to wait for an agent to be available, but the answer was precise, was shorter, and easy to understand, right? He or she didn't need to wait for an agent to look up for the information. It was available in just a matter of seconds. So that was an incredible finding, and we knew right there that we needed to escalate. We knew that we were seeing the light, and this was the moment where we say, hey, let's just put full throttle, and we need to make sure that this happens quickly. But we also had some non-technical learnings, right? We needed to keep it simple, right? A lot of the processes that we have were very difficult to understand. The language that we use with our customers was not easy to understand. And AI helped us to also organize our knowledge base to make it more relatable, more human. So it was very, very good for our customers as well. Be transparent. You know, we started not saying, hey, you're talking to a voice bot. You know, you're talking to LATAM, how can I help you? And then we learned it is better to anticipate you're talking to a virtual assistant, right? But I'm here, I'm learning, let me help you with this. And give me a shot. And then if it doesn't work, I'll make sure to transfer you to an agent. But be transparent about it. That was very important. Data, and this was a hard landing. You know, we needed to make sure that our data was structured, was clean, it was available, and we needed to develop APIs so that we can consume that data and expose it to our customers. And like Felipe and Rosmar also mentioned, that we needed to fail fast. You know, we needed to test. We did it daily. Every single day we trained the bot. You know, we tested different times, different expressions, and we were training the model to do better and better in fixing those issues that we came about along the way. But we also had some technical learnings.
Yeah, I want to complement these non-technical learnings with some technicals. Now, one of them is to improve the quality and time of the responses. The adoption of new models is a key point. They start with Cloud 2 of Anthropic's to make the major task, the generation of the answer and categorization. And by May, when Anthropic released the Cloud 3 versions, they adopting those models and take the advantage of Amazon Bedrock of choosing the right model for the right task. No? In this case, they generate the answer to Cloud 3 HiQ due to the times of response, and categorization with Cloud 3 Sonnet, because this is so important to be routed to the agent, the correct agent. No? But this was possible because they automate the test. They had a set of more than 3,000 of examples of interaction of users, and with that, they can test any change on prompts and models. And the other thing important is the adoption of new features of Bedrock. In this case, by June, I think, the problem was the time of response. It was taking like 13 seconds to generate the response, and on a voice channel, it's an awkward silent. And with knowledge base, that is the way to Amazon Bedrock give you a tool to apply the retrieval augmented generation strategy. They could reduce the time by 3 times. They had a 3 seconds an average response. And the actual pain of this moment is the time to market of new topics to be resolved by the bot. No? They are developing this using a traditional model in Amazon Lex, but we hope that with Amazon Bedrock agents, that is the way to use generative AI to multi-step task. They can earn more time and give a shorter time to market for new topics. And those are a few learnings, but I hope you serve well this. Thanks, Mario.
No problem. So, based on those learnings, we knew that we needed to set ourselves with greater ambition, right? So we decided, let's escalate, and we decided that we wanted to jump from 5% containment to 35% in just a year. You know, that sounds very, very difficult to do, but I'm here to tell you, very doable. We're going to see the results in just a little bit. So we decided, in order to do that, we need to think about this in 3 different axles. Functionalities, we need to increase not only FAQs, but simple tasks like flight information or request a refund or what is my status of the case or whatnot. So we needed to customize information for those customers as well in order to get to that 35%. Client segmentation, we started with our passengers with no frequent flyer program, but we're in the verge of expanding that to other tiers as well to other markets. We started with Peru, but now we are in Colombia and we are in Brazil. So more than 50% of our high value customers are now attended by Gen AI. And we needed to escalate in channels as well. This year we decided we're going to stay in voice, we need to learn, and then we're going to expand to other channels. So that is the definition, and I am here to give you the results. Those are incredible results only after a year. 32% of our demand, it is now retained and contained by Gen AI. That is a 27-point lift. It's an incredible number. The accuracy is still very stable, 85% of our responses. And Rosmar mentioned that we had 3,500 sets of golden sets. Yeah. Now our golden set is 20,000 questions. So we know that we're doing much better. And this was the main indicator, NPS. It improved. It improved because of 2 reasons. One, once the Gen AI was not able to help the customer, at least was able to understand what he or she wanted. And that was relevant. It was very important for that experience, so that transition, that handoff to an agent was very smooth. The agent knew who he or she was talking to and what that person needed. And that was very, very important to improve the experience of that customer. So, and also by matching the intent, the reason of call to the right agent, we made sure that passenger, that client didn't need to be transferred. And we also lowered the transfer rate by 50%. We had a transfer rate of 14, and now we are in 7% of transfers. So those were great, great results. But that didn't stop there. We need to get more ambitious, be even greater. And that's why we have a plan to expand our partnership with NTT and AWS to have a crazy ambition of having 70% of our demand assisted by Gen AI. And that includes some more complex tasks, not only quick questions, but changes, involuntary changes, refunds or whatnot, things that clients need, so that the things that cannot be solved by the AI have the time and attention of our agents that can take care of that. And we're also going to expand in languages. We're soon to launch our Gen AI in English, and that is going to be our next step. And also other tiers. We're going to expand this to our high-value customer. And why not? We're thinking about other languages as well in the future, because we also fly to destinations like Italy or Portugal, in Germany and France. So we want to make sure that we can also serve those customers. In channels, like I stated before, we started with voice vote, but we are exploring the possibilities to expand this to instant messaging, WhatsApp, which is massively used in South America, emails, social media as well. But that doesn't stop there. This is just the beginning. And I know that this is going to sound a little cliche, but since I come from the airline industry, might as well use this sentence: the sky is the limit. Literally, I think that the opportunities that we have with AI go well beyond just a chatbot experience. We are exploring opportunities for expanding coverage for customer care, not only in the reactive sense, but being proactive, developing models that will help us understand what the customer needs before he or she needs to call us. And we're building those models with AI so that we can engage with those customers before they have the time to need. Career development. We recently launched AI with our partners to develop models to train our crew. We're using AI to listen to those calls and get that feedback that we need. Of 100% of the calls, we needed to, before we monitor very little calls, now we monitor much more, and that we're going to use that feedback to better train our agents. We talked about predictive and prescriptive models, being able to see, to understand when that client is at risk of churning, because he or she had a failure, a disruption with us. Why don't we proactively engage with them to try to recover that customer and convince them to stay with us? So we're building those models right now, and we're in the phase of testing that methodology as well. Biometrics. We're using biometrics for check-in processes in some airports already, and also for the safety of our frequent flyer programs when they log into our website. Visual AI. We explore processes like examining everything that happens below the wing to measure the time of every process, like fueling, loading the bags and whatnot. And in the future, we're thinking about these personas. We believe that in the future, everyone is going to have a personal assistant of Gen AI in their pocket, and that is the assistant that is going to communicate with the rest of the world, and we want to be ready for that. So we're thinking about that as well. So thank you again for having me. It was a pleasure to be here, and that is it from my side.
Thank you so much, Mauricio. Thank you. So that's it from our side. I think that we're gonna have time outside if you guys want to ask something to us. Please, we're gonna be there a couple of minutes. Fill out the survey, please. And thank you so much. Have a nice reinvent. Thank you.